Hello, Christian. Thank you for joining me. Do you want to talk a little bit about who you are and your role with Goodwings?
My name is Christian Møller-Holst. I live in Copenhagen, Denmark, in Scandinavia, and I started Goodwings. I'm the founder of Goodwings 7 years ago, and the acting CEO.
Okay. Do you want to tell me more about what Goodwings is as a company? What do you do?
Well, we essentially make it affordable for businesses of all sizes to travel responsible. On the surface, we're a hotel platform like, from Booking.com or Expedia, Hotels.com. We have the same inventory, more than 1 million hotels, and we have the same competitive prices. The difference is we have a business model which allows us to allocate all our booking revenues to fight climate change. So if you place a booking with Goodwings and you're a member, a corporate member, we allocate the full revenue to two things. One, we buy biofuel, which is a renewable jet fuel type, which reduces your emission by up to 80%. The cost of biofuel is still very expensive due to little demand and low production volumes. So in most cases, we can reduce your emissions by maybe between, I would say, 5 and 50%, depending on if you're traveling, domestic or long haul. So any remaining emissions we remove verifiably with nature-based projects, reforestation. So we want to make it as accessible by reducing the cost of biofuel and offsets, because that's what's holding most companies back, together with lack of knowledge.
Yeah, definitely. That's
Sure.
really interesting. So when you say that you purchase biofuel or you help people purchase biofuel, then what does that look like? What's the system for then it being used?
Sure. So what we do is let's say you're traveling to Copenhagen to have coffee with me, and you're flying from the US. Unfortunately, there's no train solution for such a trip. So flying is and will continue to be a big part of business travel. You will likely emit 3 tons with such a business trip, on economy class, by the way. So more if you're traveling premium or business. But let's say you're climate conscious, you want to come and visit me, and a Zoom meeting is not enough. So that's going to emit that one trip will emit 3 tons into the atmosphere. So if you're staying maybe 4 nights in a hotel in Copenhagen, that generates quite a significant booking commission. So unlike all our competitors, we use this full amount for biofuel and reforestation. So what we do in practice is we work with a company in Germany called Squake. It's a subsidiary to Lufthansa, and they partner with 25 major airlines. So we calculate your fuel consumption on the trip, how much fuel you will need for your seat, and we then look at the available booking commission, and we buy as much biofuel as we can to replace jet fuel. So obviously, we cannot make sure that the biofuel will be put on your exact airplane, because we still don't have Goodwings employees with biofuel jerry cans in all airports around the world. But Squake, together with the audit partner TÜV, one of the world's largest auditing companies, makes sure and audits that the biofuel will replace oil-based, fossil-based jet fuel within the next 6 months. It will be put into airline operations. So that's the practicalities of it. And when it has been put into airline operations, we get a certificate that we then pass on to our clients so they can use it in their reduction targets and reporting.
Wow, that's amazing. So is it, it's almost like carbon offsets, where you're offsetting carbon emissions, but in this way you're offsetting your jet fuel consumption, and you're getting a certificate that it's being put back into actual practice.
Exactly. And one of the problems with, if you look at the different types of offsets, so you have in the lower end, the cheap offsets are predominantly REC, renewable energy credits. So an offset, a climate credit associated with a windmill or solar plant or something like that. Those offsets were super important 10 years ago because green electricity was not competitive. So it needed the extra income. Things change. And today, I mean, Denmark is one of the world's largest producer of wind energy. The US is investing massively in renewable energy sources. So you can say we need to shift away from buying the cheap energy credits to invest in nature. And removal offsets, meaning you invest in new forest, new mangrove plantations, and so on. That's typically $15 to $25 per ton or per credit. Talking about biofuel, that's a different league. We're paying $700 per ton removed. So you can see, I mean, you would have to stay in Copenhagen in a hotel for maybe 2 months in order for us to have enough commission to fly you zero emission from the US to Copenhagen and back. But even if we can reduce long haul by 5%, it's a breakthrough. It's a revolution. Emissions have gone up in travel and aviation and continues to, because biofuel is not being put into use. Airlines cannot afford to do it at great scale. They have it on the website and they talk about it, but if you look at the consumption or the adoption of it, it's still like less than 1%. And you as a consumer or a conscious business, you're not going to pay, $4,000 to travel to Copenhagen zero emission. So that's where we have a role to play, because online hotel platforms have tons of money. They make tons of money, but they spend it on advertising, $45 billion every year. Hold on, wow. $45 billion per year. That's what our competitors are spending their money on. So you're going to have to choose, do I want to sponsor more ads on Expedia, on hotels.com or booking.com or any other platform, or you want to go Goodwings? And if you choose to book your hotel with us, you will take like substantial climate action, because all our revenue will be allocated for this purpose: biofuel and absorbing or removing emissions with nature.
Well, that's quite the sell. So you've talked quite a bit about emissions. Do you want to speak a little bit to what the significance of travel-related emissions is on climate change?
I would love to. So I think most people associate emissions with flying, but of course, if you have a meeting 500 kilometers from your location, if you fly or you take your gasoline car, it's more or less the same, but people are not aware of this. So one of the things that we've built on our platform is a carbon calculator. So before you can complete your hotel booking, you have to use the carbon calculator. And this shows you the emission levels if you go by air, train, bus, or car. So it will become visible for you that you can, per passenger, lower your footprint if you maybe go in the same car, those 2 or 3 or 4 people. But if you have to go to the business meeting yourself, then it becomes visible for you that flying is basically the same as taking the car in many cases, unless you drive an electric vehicle. But of course, and hotels emit a lot as well. One hotel night per person emits around 30 kilos of CO2. We kind of tend to forget that when it comes to hotels. It's always the towel thing, it's like, it's ridiculous.
Or the soaps.
And the soaps. It becomes, it's a question of soaps and towel. Are you going to hang it up? How often it's going to be washed, and so on. And water consumption is, and water conservation is a very serious topic. So I'm not, it's not like I'm making fun of it, but we just need to have the bigger picture. When you stay in a hotel, the heated outdoor pool, all the TVs, all the refrigerators emit tons of carbon. So our role really is to make all this visible with the hotel booking. I mean, booking a hotel for a personal trip or business trip is the easiest thing in the world. But if you do it on Goodwings, it's the easiest way to have major impact.
Wow.
So yeah, and one more thing I think, which is kind of COVID related. We're now in the hopefully post-COVID era, so let me just have a fingers crossed. Let me just one mention in that regard. I think one of the things that we see in our data is that people travel a little bit less but longer, and this works very well with our business model because we want you to travel less. We're basically the Patagonia of travel. We encourage our clients, even though we're a travel platform, we encourage our clients not to travel.
Yeah.
And they're like, how can that happen? And we say, well, it's because we don't want to make money from bookings, because if we make money from the bookings, we're incentivized to encourage you to travel. What we say is, if you have to travel, try to minimize. And when you do, travel longer, because the longer you travel in the hotel, the more booking commission will be generated, the more we can reduce your footprint with biofuel.
Wow.
And
so go ahead.
Go on, please. No, come on.
It sounds like what you're doing is you're not only giving people a sustainable choice, but oftentimes the barrier with people making sustainable choices is they're not informed. And with your carbon calculator, you're putting it right out there so they understand the actual impact of their choice. And then it also sounds like you're helping to make these things more accessible. You mentioned that largely offsets used to be focused on renewable energy, and now renewable energy is more accessible than ever. Do you envision that through these practices, you're not only going to help educate people, but you're also helping to kind of move the needle towards these solutions becoming more common practice?
Oh, definitely. Our clients really want us to educate their employees, because the workplace is the best arena for climate education. So, I mean, there's tons to do in educating people around the world. People think, oh, Scandinavia, they're ahead of everything. No, we're not. we might have done investments a little bit earlier than other countries in terms of investing in renewable energies, hydrogen, power to X, etc. But the average Dane knows as little as the average American or Australian about biodiversity, about climate, about our emission levels. If I say you're emitting 3 tons with the long haul trip between Europe and the US, people will say, wow, that's a lot, isn't it? They have no idea how much they emit in a year.
Yeah.
And if I tell them, well, the average European emits 7 tons. Okay, so my one business trip counts for half of what an average European emits in a year. Then it puts things into perspective. It shows just how much the wealthiest people, the businesses, really account for. And if they can afford to travel, they can also afford an affordable solution like Goodwings to help them mitigate their action.
That's a great point. And you're speaking about like business related travel emissions. And I know that right now the emission scopes, they're like a hot topic. Pretty much everyone's talking about them. What scope does Goodwings help address?
Scope 3. So if you're a company, like in the EU, we recently implemented, or we are in the process of implementing a new EU directive, which means that all companies above 250 employees as of next year will have to report on their greenhouse gas emissions. The following year, it's all companies. And this is coming to the US as well. I believe there is a proposal by the SEC in the US already, but I'm not sure how it's being pushed forward.
Yeah, I think there is.
Yeah, I think so. But in EU, the companies are waking up to, we have to calculate their emissions. What does that mean? Well, it means that you have your scope 1, 2, and 3. Scope 1 is what you emit with your production of whatever, if you produce. Your scope 2 could be your electricity and heating, and scope 3, the indirect, the for instance, your suppliers and sub-suppliers. Business travel falls into the scope 3 category. If you are a company not producing much in scope 1, and we have a lot of architect companies, consultants, designers, tech companies, they don't emit that much in scope 1.
Yeah.
Business travel is often 75% of their footprint.
Wow.
But they're looking to change LED light bulbs. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So start, of LED light bulbs. It's great. Let's do it. Insulate your home or your office. It's great. But from a materiality point of view, look at your business travel. But the problem is many companies, big and small, have kind of not done it because it's like, it seems impossible. Can I?
Yeah.
First of all, few people understand what's a climate credit. What's an offset? Is it expensive? Can I trust it? And what about this biofuel? I learned that it's outrageous expensive. And that's where we make it easy to understand and to start using it, because the money is in the industry. Out of the $60 billion online platforms make every year, as I mentioned before, they spend 45 on it, 3/4 on advertising. So it's not like the money is not in the industry. It is.
It's right there.
It just ends up with Google and Facebook and other and TV channels, and I say it belongs somewhere else.
So in a way, you're helping to disrupt kind of what the current priorities are and focus them on the areas of the highest impact.
Correct.
Yeah, and I feel like oftentimes with with the scopes, people focus on, scope 1 because it's scope 1. That's what people focus on the most, because it maybe creates this this assumption that that's the most important. And then scope 2, and then scope 3, it maybe falls by the wayside because, like you said, people see it as difficult to manage or difficult to track. But what you're doing is you're creating something where people can track it and they can see their actual impact and they can do something about it right there.
Exactly. And I think business travel is difficult to track because if you look at the behavior in especially small, medium-sized businesses up to maybe 600-700 employees, how do they book their travel? Well, most often they have a hotel platform that they use. But when it comes to flight emissions, they tend to book directly with the airline because that gives them the best prices, and it's easiest if they want to get a refund or change to call American Airlines directly. If you've booked it through someone, the airlines are not as eager to talk to you. They prefer direct bookings. So that's really the behavior we tap into, because you don't need to change anything except where you book your hotels. We only deliver the hotel booking, but we take into account the full travel footprint, your transfers to and from airports, your flights or your train or your car, your hotel stay, even your meals. All that takes like 4 seconds to fill out on the website, and all the data is gathered and stored on your account. So the person responsible for scope 3 can just go to Goodwings, go to the dashboard and download my emissions report. So this is something that saves our clients maybe 150 to 200 hours, like work hours yearly. That's also money saved.
Yeah, that sounds like it's really effective at helping people look at what their actual emissions are for an entire trip. It sounds like it would make it a lot easier for someone to create, say, a sustainability report or do an assessment of overall company-wide emissions if the emissions related to every step of the process are all in one place. So what are your greatest achievements so far? If you could hold your hat on something and say this, you're really proud of this, what would you say?
I would say we had an idea. COP27 just started, and 2 months ago, I read I think it was like a pre-launch of the IPCC report on the state of our climate, and we just decided to fast track the implementation of biofuel. And this was something that could have taken 6 or 9 months, and we did it in 3 weeks. To come together as a team, because my entire team is so passionate about bringing the right climate solutions to our clients and to the planet, it really excites me. And the fact that Forbes magazine picked it up and did a great piece about Goodwings was like, hey, we're onto something. And I think the feedback we get from clients is really excites me. Small, medium-sized, larger companies all tell us it used to be really difficult to understand, to track our emissions and calculate it accurately, and we had no opportunity to start using biofuel. We got all that from a subscription of $100 or $200 a month. So bringing to market a solution which gives our clients an obvious value add, but also the planet, and really solves the greatest challenge of a generation is a great achievement.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. So conversely, what have some of the challenges been that you've faced?
I think, to be honest, the greatest challenge that we have faced and are facing is the lack of knowledge. To explain to people, because I'm being contacted constantly by organizations who do tree planting in many parts of the world. Most of those projects, I assume they're good, but I don't know since they're not verified. Many of our clients or potential clients would probably like to see Goodwings involved in a forest somewhere because it's tangible, it's fun, they can share it with their employees. But we tell them, well, we want to be a little bit more boring because we only buy VCS verified removal credits. But then we have to explain to them, well, the credit is basically the bridge between the forest and you or Goodwings, because someone is planting a forest. They then have an auditing part, like independent third-party organization, come out and measure how much carbon has been absorbed by the forest. Each ton is then turned into a carbon credit. So when they start to understand the mechanism in investing in nature in a way that involves a high level of integrity, they love it. But there is a lot of education that we still need to help with. So I think that's really one of the challenges. And of course, our business model is about changing the paradigm of online travel, saying no to booking revenues and offering businesses an affordable monthly subscription starting from $79 a month for the entire company, not per user, but for the entire company, and ranging up to maybe $500 if you're Unilever. So the membership is what keeps our lights on. The booking revenue goes to biofuel and reforestation. So we have to find new ways of brand building and creating awareness. That's our main challenge. That's why I love this opportunity to talk to you, Leah, because you and GBB can help share the vision of Goodwings. Let's turn travel into a financing mechanism of biofuel and nature-based projects, because that's what the world needs, not more ads.
That tagline right there is great. I couldn't agree with you more. It's just it's shifting from like a consumer-focused market to a action-focused market. If you could say, to listeners why you think sustainability is approachable, what would you say?
So I think sustainability is approachable if you help provide solutions that are affordable and easy to use. Implementation with us takes like 2 minutes. You sign up as a company, you invite your colleagues, they all get an email about why your company has chosen to reduce your emissions with biofuel and remove the rest with nature, and they can start booking hotels. It cannot become simpler. and that such a solution, mitigating potentially 75% of your company footprint, that's approachable. And I think that's the role of entrepreneurs. Seriously, I see so many new companies starting up here and there with a new software solution, with a new app that brings you the pizza hotter, faster, cheaper. Is that really what the world needs in 2022? Hotter, faster, cheaper pizza? Or a new ridiculous software system that helps you solve your database or structure your database or whatever. No, the world needs solutions that tackles the number one challenge of a generation and future generations. And that responsibility falls on us in the private sector, and especially the entrepreneurs. We have to make it easy and turn it into a turnkey concept.
Yeah. So with this challenge, some of the challenges you've described and the challenge that you're facing to make this a widespread solution, what gives you hope?
Well, I get hope when I talk to clients, when I talk to potential clients, and when I see, the excitement in their eyes when me or someone in my team is doing like an online 20-minute demo. Because, a few minutes into the conversation, they're like, wow, what you just showed me calculates my, travel missions seamlessly, effortlessly. And by the way, the price point is super low. Let's go. That gives me hope. But I think we also need hope because, you can also, if you look at what comes out of COP27 these weeks, it's not good news.
No.
It's the two worlds against each other. Who's to pay for it? How can we implement fast enough? And now with a health crisis, a financial crisis, a war in Europe, there is a lot of other issues taking the agenda. So we need to insist on focusing on climate, and we're hopeful, and we hope that many of GPB members and non-members and your network in general will join our fight to turn travel responsible.
Thank you so much, Christian. That was a great response, and I've really enjoyed talking to you so far. I mean, I totally agree with you that we have to have hope, because when you look at just the headlines, it's really easy to feel overwhelmed with it. I mean, with COP27, I myself am anxious to read what comes out of it and see what comes out of it. Because I know, like you said, that it's not good news, but if we just keep focusing on solutions and action, then hopefully we can turn this into something good.
We can, and we will.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. To those of you listening, check out Goodwings for your business travel and consider booking responsibly. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leah.